Hi, everybody. I'm Kimberly Tilley, and I'm here today with Taylor Northcutt. Taylor is a physiognomist, and he has a wonderful channel on YouTube called Prosopa Insights. And he's here today to help me analyze a couple of mugshots for Mugshot March. So, Taylor, welcome.
Thank you for having me. It's an honor, and it seems like it's going to be a fun time.
Well, Taylor, before we start, I don't think a lot of people are familiar with physiognomy. Would you be able to give us just a broad overview of what it is and what it isn't?
Yeah, well, it used to be pretty big. It comes in and out of favor over the centuries and millennia. And physiognomy comes from the ancient Greek physis, meaning body, and gnomon, meaning to judge. So it's body judgment. It is ascertaining someone's inner characteristics from their outer characteristics, personality, mental state, even mental health, from certain physical signs and tells. Physiognomy is very ancient, about as old as the written record, as far as we could tell, and it's pretty universal. Every culture, by and large, has their own school of physiognomy. Mesopotamian, Indian, Greek, Islamic, Chinese, up to modern Western. You have a French school, American school, and other
Wow.
schools of thought with that. Yeah. So, and the interesting thing is that when you uh, compare and contrast these differing traditions, there are a few cosmetic differences, the terms they use for the different, say, face shapes or personalities, but you get a lot of overlap in terms of what people are saying, the correlations that are being drawn, this face for that trait, from Greece to China and everyone between. There seems to be pretty broad agreement. So that plus a lot of what the modern facial analytic technology can do, being able to tell people's sexual orientation, personality, political affiliation, religiosity, even just from a still picture of the face. There's a
Wow.
lot of new research now that's showing there's really something to this. And that's why it's sort of come back. It kind of got pushed to the margin for society for a while and of academia, due to a sort of bad reputation it acquired in the 1800s. You got a lot of cranks, the classic snake oil salesman types who kind of roped it in with phrenology, which is technically a form of physiognomy, assessing the character from the appearance, but it has a much weaker basis in actual science or study or theory. There's nothing ancient or intuitive about it either. So, because of that, because of other historical exigencies, physiognomy kind of got pushed to the wayside and people sort of forgot about it and they kind of went against it. They said, well, don't judge a book by its cover, and appearances can be deceiving and you can't tell what someone's like, from how they look, which is really going against our inborn instincts that you can tell something about someone from how they look in terms of personality. Now, what physiognomy cannot tell you, as far as I believe, I don't believe that it can tell your future. You go to China or India, they might say that it can. They're very big into fortune telling there. So they combine the sort of personality reading aspect of physiognomy with the sort of fortune telling, predicting your inheritance, your life path with that. They practice that. I haven't seen much evidence for the validity of that. Physiognomy can also not generally tell you level of intelligence. You can see stuff like alertness, intellectualism, like how interested someone is in ideas and thinking. But in terms of IQ, no direct strong correlation that I've seen. And lastly, and most relevantly for this discussion, physiognomy cannot actually tell you about moral character. In much the same way that, there are certain genes, the MAOA gene is the classic one that correlate with, murder. I think it's something like MAOA gene is in 2% of the population, 80% of the violent crime population, or something like that. Maybe it's more like
Oh.
5%, 50%. I forget the exact ratio, but highly overrepresented in the prison population. But
Mhm.
of course, not everyone with this jump's a killer. Some join the military, become athletes, whatever. So at the end of the day, we all have free will, free moral choice.
What about something like aggression?
That's a thing that you could tell from physiognomy. I couldn't tell,
Mhm.
is their person a criminal or not? But if I knew that they were, I might be able to take a guess as to, well, were they more of a, hot-blooded killer, cold-blooded killer? What sort of thing were they doing?
Could you give us an example of one of those elements that would stretch across cultures?
A really interesting one is with asymmetry. So this is found across the different traditions, and the idea is that facial asymmetry stands for the inner and outer self. This comes from facial chirality, which is the fact that inauthentic emotions are expressed on the face asymmetrically. This is something the FBI actually uses with analyzing mugshots. Is that the right side will be whatever they're trying to express. So if it's like a fake smile, you'll see a smile only on the right side, but then you'll see a frown on the left side. And you do enough of that over time, this asymmetrical expression. And I suspect it has something to do with the brain hemispheres and a conflict there. But then you get this difference in face. So the left side in all these traditions is said to stand for the inner self, who you are by nature, private self. And the right side is the public professional self, who you present as to the world.
And you also mentioned that there's a degree of intuition.
Yeah, for sure. I think you see it all the time. It's very much an inborn thing. Um, we look at, say, a face with, big eyes, round tip of the nose, um, curved eyebrows. We think this person's very kind. We look at a face that's, say, very long, big forehead, sharp, alert eyes. And we think this person seems more intellectual, more intelligent. A face with a really big jaw and chin and kind of a smaller forehead. We think they're more of a muscle man type. This actually gets used in art and uh, cartooning. Even I have a lot of artists who follow my channel who don't even necessarily believe in physiognomy and all that, but they just watch my stuff and take notes for character design. And I've got some
Absolutely.
videos coming up on the physiognomy of monsters, fantasy creatures, how authors and myth makers use and have used physiognomy in order to sort of convey a character's personality to the audience.
This gentleman is named Lewis Lowenthal. And at the time of the mugshot being taken, he was 26 years old. And I'm not going to tell Taylor what his crime was or anything like that, but I am going to give him just a few clues that were in the record about what Lewis looked like. And he was 5'1.5". He weighed 115 pounds. He's 26 years old here. He had black hair and hazel eyes. There was a scar over his right eye. And just for people who like to follow Mugshot March, his aliases were Samuel Miller, George Myers, Barney Gold, Louis Glick, and Louis Bloom. So I'm going to hand it over to Taylor here. What do you see when you look at him?
Yeah, well, first off, what really stands out here is the asymmetry, especially in the eyebrows. So there's a few different things with eyebrows, different interpretations. Some face readers, they'll say that asymmetrical eyebrows specifically stand for mental issues. Um, there's stuff going on there, something wrong mentally or intellectually. Others will be be a little simpler with it and use the consistent system of the left side is the inner self, the right side is the outer self. So, what would this mean for him? We can see that his eyebrows are at different levels. His left eyebrow is lower than his right. So this means that I'd say on the whole, his eyebrows are very high set, both of them. High set eyebrows generally mean that someone is a bit more considerate, slow, patient. They want to take in all the information before making a decision. He's also got longer nose with a downturned tip. That might indicate some additional thoughtfulness as well. Generally, with the impulsive, violent crimes, you tend to see a very short nose with a an upturned tip. My brother has that. Um, the asymmetry for him would be, I think, that his presentation to others would be he would emphasize that sort of considerativeness, almost a passivity there as well, trying to make himself kind of appear harmless, friendly, whereas inside he's more calculating, quick to judge. I will also say with his eyebrows, they're quite droopy. And this is something I see in modern mugshots as well. When the eyebrows sort of start high in the middle and go droop out to the tails,
Oh,
You see this a lot in um, you do actually see this in a certain subset of violent killer, which is the mentally ill impulse killer. And it's an interesting thing because it looks like a harmless trait. It looks like they're scared. It's like a look of fear. And if you study the literature, they say that that stands for doubt or even paranoia. So I believe that those very droopy eyelids there can stand for a degree of paranoia that in the extreme cases, which his actually wouldn't be the worst that I've seen, it can correlate with I believe it can correlate with schizophrenia in some cases. And the asymmetry, very strong asymmetry like this, can correlate with neurodivergence, mental illness. Um, the other thing I see, negative canthal tilt, so the eyes are kind of droopy as well. That tends to stand for people who are more people pleasing, kind, conciliatory. It doesn't mean that they're necessarily good people or that they're truly giving, but they're more deferential. And these people can actually build up resentment over time from being too much of a nice guy. Last thing that I see with him is because I mentioned the nose as well, the ears, very small yet very wide splayed. This is an interesting little paradox. Wide splayed ears mean that someone is independent. It's hard to sort of get them off their track, dislodge an idea from them, uh, trouble with relationships. A small ear, though, indicates that someone is easily influenced. It's easy to put an idea in their head. People ask, how does that work? I go to two examples um, from sort of the modern media space. Candace Owens and I don't know if you heard of him, but these the Luxmaxer guy, Clavicular. They both have these small, wide splayed ears, and you'll see that they're both very taken with these kind of radical out there ideas where they receive these ideas, they're easily influenced by them, and then they take them and they run with them, and you can't dislodge them from them once they're in there. When it comes to these sort of new ideas or plans or ways of doing things, so that would be pretty much most of what I see with him. The last thing I will say, though, actually, now that I mention it, you've got kind of a both side profile, very large interface, a lot of sensitivity here, sensitivity and reactivity. I would not trust this guy to be able to handle stress well. He wouldn't show it immediately, and he would, be kind of a yes man and slow, considerate, thoughtful. But you put him in a high stress environment, I wouldn't really trust him to be able to handle it.
Why is that? Like, what are you tying that part to?
The kind of a bowed side profile, so when it's kind of pointy, bird-like that, somewhat, that's a more melancholic trait. That's for people who are more sensitive, and they are more receptive, perceptive, but they can get overwhelmed. And the what I call the big interface, which is you take the facial features, kind of draw a circle around that, compare that to the head as a whole. So you see, you kind of do the space around his eyebrows, where his mouth is. The face is filling much of the head there. People with a smaller interface, you see that a lot in very successful businessmen, politicians, Charlie Kirk, Bill Clinton, Harvey Weinstein. These people are very stress resistant. They're able to compartmentalize and detach. But people with a big interface, their problem is hypersensitivity.
Wow. And you said he would be very like attuned to his environment and reactive to it. So he would probably like if something happened that was unexpected, he would probably be able to adjust his plan accordingly if he was
Yeah, yeah.
planning
There's
something.
a definitely a lot of mental quickness there.
Okay. All right. Well, do you want to know what his crimes were?
Sure.
All right. He was forgery, he had conspiracy, swindling, false pretenses, and I went and looked him up and I found three different articles about him. In 1905, he was convicted in Washington, D.C. and Pennsylvania in the same month for separate crimes. And he went to jail for 2 years. And then when he got out, he went to Louisiana and got busted in a cockfighting ring.
Hmm.
So he's versatile too. He's a versatile
Hmm.
criminal.
Interesting.
Yeah, yeah. Does that kind of fit with your profile, do you think?
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's up for the audience to judge ultimately, but I do think you can very much see with the receptiveness, the nice guy persona that I was talking about, especially the right side, stronger negative canthal tilt, and that higher set, droopy curved eyebrow there, very much a harmless sort of look, especially that, yeah, I can do a little game, little thing where you take your thumb and sort of close one eye and you can sort of isolate the left and right side. For my videos, I kind of edit and you can see his right side looks super nice, giving. Left side is a little more alert and sharp. So that's I would see that there.
After you
I
explain it to me, I can see it, but I don't know if I only see it because you're explaining it to me or if
Yeah.
like that's something I could have picked up on my own. I don't think I
Well, you
would.
learn that sort of you get to it over time. The main thing I would say with this is, this would not be a guy I would expect to be, a mugger, a street burglar, something like that, because of the sensitivity, big interface, those high set, droopy, harmless eyebrows. Those would be more stereotypically feminine eyebrows, and especially that long nose, much more thoughtful. I don't see a ton of impulsivity there.